If you've watched our video on how to make pastry, you've got some beautiful flaky buttery pastry in the freezer or the refrigerator, and now you want to roll it out and make a pie or make individual servings of whatever it is, it's going to be delicious. Anyway, let's talk about how to roll pastry. First of all, let's look at the equipment that we're going to use. First, I like to use a mat. This is just a non-stick mat that I put on my work surface. You can use your granite or your kitchen counter, anything you want. I like to have a mat, it keeps it a little more tidy. I put a wet paper towel underneath so it doesn't skid around when I'm trying to roll the pastry. I've got my rolling pin. This is vintage, I don't know what year, but I love it. I've had it forever and I'm not ever giving that up. And then I've got some dusting flour. First of all, when you get your pastry out of the refrigerator, it's already, if you've had it frozen, it's thawed by now. Work it with your hands a little bit just to warm it up and soften it so it's easier to roll. You don't want to get it too warm because pastry wants to stay cold so that the butter that we've worked so hard to incorporate into the flour stays nice and hard. Now that I think it's very ready to roll, it's nice and soft on the inside, it won't give me much trouble, I'm going to use flour to cover my board and my rolling pin. Try to avoid just dropping the flour in large clumps because otherwise you're going to get large clumps on your pastry. Throw it from the side as if you're throwing fairy dust or something. Just like that, a light coating all across your work surface. And then take a little bit more and cover your rolling pin with it. Now put your pastry right in the center, and if you're frustrated, if you've had a bad day, this is a great therapy. I do that just to get it started rolling, and it feels pretty good too. Start in the middle of your pastry and roll outwards. Keep turning your pastry as you go. You never want it to stick to your board. Once it gets stuck, it's really hard to get up. So keep it moving. Never roll over the end of your pastry or you'll have a really flat bit at the edge. So keep it moving, go almost to the edge, and then stop. If it gets sticky, add a little more flour. Again, throwing it from the side so that you don't get big clumps of flour right in the middle of your pastry. Think about what you're going to use your pastry for. If you want to fill a pie tin, then you want to roll it in a nice round shape or an approximation thereof. I like to get my pastry about a 1/8 of an inch thick for my pie dough. Sticking a little bit. To test the thickness and make sure it's even all the way around, just run your fingers around the edge. If you feel a slightly thick spot, which I do here, give it a little bit more of a roll. And once your pastry is rolled out to a size that's going to fit your pie shell, you're finished. Don't overwork it too much. Sometimes I like to make individual pies. And maybe I use one of my round cutters to cut little shapes in it or make decorations on something else. You can do whatever you want with it. Now that it's rolled out, it's ready to mold. To fill a standard pie shell, it's an 8-inch fluted pie tin or tart pan. It's got a removable bottom on it, so it's going to make it really easy to unmold my finished pie and to serve it. I'm going to take my pastry that's rolled out and roll it up around my rolling pin, just like that. Move my pie tin in, and then unroll the pastry right on top. Then if you just lift and tuck, getting the pastry down into the corners of that pie tin, you're going to have a delicious, nice and evenly baked crust all the way around. I've got a lot of extra here. I'll show you how to get rid of that. Just take your rolling pin and roll right around the outside. It acts as its own little cutter, and you can remove all of the extra pastry. And voila. That's it. That's how you make a tart shell. That's how you roll out pastry and fill it for a beautiful pie. With this extra pastry that I've just cut off, I'm going to use that as decoration on some other thing that I might make, or I could even use it as lattice across the top of my pie. It doesn't re-roll very well because the butter and the glutens will start to work against you and it won't be nearly as flaky as a regular pie crust. So just use it in small amounts. Decoration is best. Bon appetit.